Hello Handpanners, welcome back to another groove to melody video. If you haven't seen me do this kind of thing before, I'll put a link to the playlist in the description below because I've done a few of these videos already. But the general idea is I will randomly generate a groove, which actually I've done ahead of time because I'm using my phone for the overhead shot. Hello, today. So I've generated a groove. I'm gonna put that, learn it on the handpan, and then from there use it to inspire melody and then kind of talk you through the process of turning it into a mini composition. Because a lot of times the kind of sticking point, the part where people get stuck in composing, is going from having a really cool groove to not knowing what to do with it and how to put it into context and actually create melody and structure and all of that kind of thing from it. So that's the goal today. Oh, before I do that though, I do want to say a huge thank you to everybody who has become a patron over in my Patreon community. Thank you so much. I've had quite a few new people arrive over this last month, so I'm super grateful. As some of you know, I haven't been able to get into the studio for a little while because I had COVID, and it's meant that I haven't been teaching for a little while as well, and suddenly I'm realising how important that Patreon is. So I'm so grateful for all of your support. Thank you for that. If you would like to support this channel and the work that I do here, there are different tiers, price points on the Patreon if you are financially able to do that. And if you're not, then there are other ways that you can support me. You can watch the adverts all the way through or leave a little comment so that I appear in more people's places. It all helps, so thank you so much. Anyway, groove. So the groove that I have generated is, I don't have my glasses on. 1 and 2, doom, that, 1 and 2. So this is the groove. 1 and 2 and 3. 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 Or I could play that slaps on the edges. So we got the groove then. So let's see. So there are a few different ways that we can start to add melody. If you've seen these videos, you'll know these steps. But you know, depending on where the inspiration flows, I always end up going down completely different paths. So the first is replacing ghost notes with some notes around the pan. And depending on which hand is coming next in the pattern, that's the side of the pan that you play on. So in this case, I'm playing right, left, right, left, right, left, right, oops, right, left, 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 right, right. So it's all hand to hand. I'm starting with my right hand. So whichever hand is playing, that's the side of the pan that I'm going to use. This, by the way, is a lovely F Low Pygmy from Meridian Handpan. I really love its spaciousness and how much it really rings. So, here we go. So I've replaced the first 2 ghost notes with notes on the side of the pan. And actually, the first 2 that I chose, that I just let my hands fall onto, I really like that. I think I want to play this slowly. Another one right before another note where a ghost note was, right before the final ding in this groove. So there's a ding on the 4 and, like right before the groove kind of loops back around again. So I've just put another note there, and I've also kept everything really low as well, because with this scale in particular, I love how the ding kind of interacts with everything because it's such a low scale. And by that I mean the jump between the ding and the first note in the scale around the outside isn't a large jump. Usually it's like a 4th or a 5th, and there's a big gap so you can play the 2 notes together. But in this case, the notes are so close together, I think it's a G, I think, an F and a G, that it clashes. It doesn't sound very nice. So that means that you're more inclined to play the ding as part of the scale, which I love. So it's almost like the ding that I've generated, what is supposed to be the groove, the percussion, has actually become part of the melody itself. And if I take away all of the other accents, it sounds really nice. And if I bring those accents back in, as well is, because I've slowed this right down and playing it quite slow, again the melody itself is quite spacious, there's not loads going on, it's very repetitive. I can start to fill in the gaps in between. So at the minute I'm counting 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, right? Sung very badly. But because it's quite slow, the spaces I could be counting 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a, right? It's still the same thing, I'm just acknowledging that there are also opportunities to strike in between what I was already previously singing. So with that in mind, 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and, yeah. So this is what I originally wrote or came up with, and then start to fill in more of those spaces. So I actually really like this in itself as a really kind of meditative, repetitive little tune, and I don't really want to do anything else with it, to be perfectly honest. I could move on and bring chords in. And then start to move away from it. So use the original structure and then slowly bring in little chord elements, and then from that move into a whole new section entirely. I could go that route, but I kind of just want to play this and just explore those little spaces in between and see what can happen with that. So I can start with the original very, very spacious pattern, slowly build it up, see if new ideas start to just arrive. Maybe I will end up going into those chords, but we'll see. Yeah, I'm just going to flow with it and see what happens. That's the plan with this one. Okay. hands are really cold today. It's a cold day. So what happened there was, you could hear I kept that same structure, right? That little thing was holding the whole improvisation together. It turned into an improvisation rather than a composition. But what I could then, or a structured improvisation, I would say, is kind of halfway between improv and composition. And the way that I developed it, rather than actually, maybe I shouldn't call this groove to melody, but I should call it groove to texture, because I came up with a small melody. And again, this is an 8-pan scale, which, an 8-note scale. So it's not like, I don't have tons and tons of notes to work with. But there's so many sounds to work with, so much texture in this pan. And so that was how I developed it. Again, as we talked about already, I started to fill in those spaces because it's such a spacious piece. And then in those spaces, I was filling it with little dynamic touches. A lot of these little knocks, some little strokes of the pan, stretching and condensing the melody in different ways. A couple of little runs, but not too much. Introducing some chordal elements, but those chords were literally just building from that melody. I just played with 2 fingers from the hand to create a chord, right? Just used whatever note was next to it to see if that sounded nice, and it did. I liked it, so I did it a few times. Yeah, and I really played with the dynamic range as well, playing with the levels and the volume levels. So even though that was the same all the way through, for me at least as a player, it stayed really interesting and exciting, and I really enjoyed playing it, and I could have carried on for a long time, but I'm also aware that I'm filming. So that kind of takes away from the spontaneity a little bit. Because otherwise I would still be playing right now. But anyway, so yeah, and again, I could move from there. Whoops. Chord bits, and then bringing back that same theme all the way through. Yeah, there's loads that I could do with this, and if you have this scale, I invite you to see if you can continue. If you have another scale, I invite you to play with this groove, or generate your own and see what you can come up with, see if you can create melody out of that. But I definitely recommend, if you haven't already, checking out at least the first 2 videos in this series, because the first 2 are really, really in-depth, and yeah, they're completely different from each other as well. And I think in the first one I ended up composing pretty much an entire piece. So if you're interested in diving right the way in, then check those out. I'll link them below. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for supporting. I really, really appreciate it. And I hope to see you in the next video, or in real life at some point in the future. That would be lovely. But in the meantime, wishing you a wonderful, wonderful day, wonderful week, wherever you are. Have fun playing and practicing, and yeah, see you again soon. Thank you.